I'm Lassina Zerbo. I'm the chairperson of the Rwanda Atomic Energy Board and also advisor at the Strategic Policy Council at the Office of the President. First of all, I think the Nuclear Energy Innovation Summit for Africa is the first of its kind. I think Rwanda should be proud of that because we are trying to position Rwanda to be in that sense of developing and implementing the small modular reactor to be a blueprint for the continent. And President Kagame's vision and leadership in making the decision to go straight for the small modular reactor is paying off in that respect, because we're bringing people to reflect on the technology. It's a technology that is not new, by the way. I think we've had the technology working for decades, but with some light water reactors, as we call them. But it's that there's a lot of innovation that is coming into making the small modular reactor and the micro reactor much more safer and secure, and hence dealing in a better way with the potential proliferation issue that many are worried about when we talk about nuclear energy. If I take it in the context of the African that would be participating, what we're aiming at is to have one voice, to talk as a united voice for the continent, whereby we can talk about our energy needs and be as well at the forefront of any technical and innovative discussion regarding small modular reactors. And we're embracing now experts and policymakers from the world. We have people coming as far as Sydney, Australia, coming from the US, coming from UK, so Europe in general. And then our intention is to create a platform for partnership, for technical exchanges, and also a business platform as well, where people can talk about how in reflecting on new financing model, Africa can benefit in implementing and developing its nuclear energy. For Rwanda, I've mentioned being a blueprint. So if you do, you bring a summit of this kind in Rwanda, you position Rwanda in a map to deal with something that has not been a regular discussion in the continent. And that's what I was talking about, President Kagame's vision and leadership in that respect. And also in leading this issue of nuclear energy and then specifically on SMR in the region, Rwanda has consistently taken students for the past 5 years to be trained in nuclear science and technology abroad. And then we're benefiting from that now, because we basically having a critical mass that constitute the human capital that is necessary for the implementation and deployment of the nuclear power plant and nuclear science and technology that we need in the country. It's something that is nascent in Rwanda, but it's not something that has only been thought of recently. I think for it to be nascent the past 5 years, things have happened. I'm giving you an example. You will recall that at some point in time, factories were trying to establish themselves, in the context of industrializing, the country. Like glass factory, for instance, I heard of, and but there were no sufficient energy to attract those developers. And then hence the president's standpoint, where do we get the energy with the demography that we're dealing with the energy needs, with energy poverty is something that I don't like. I say the energy insecurity, I would say, that we have, and then how to deal with that. And then do we only deal with renewable energy that are, not just consistent? So what do we do? So nuclear energy came to play, and then I think President Kagame made the right decision. And some would say, but Rwanda is a small country. Why Rwanda would go for nuclear energy? But I mean, We can take many small countries in the world that have nuclear energy and even the conventional one. I think it's the right decision for a country that is attracting a lot of investors, a lot of people, because people want to go where there is stability. And then if more and more people come to Rwanda, and the energy demand and energy need will be growing, exponentially. And to deal with that, renewable energy will not be sufficient. Hydro is there, but we're bringing nuclear energy not to replace them, but to complement in the energy mix that the country needs for its development and its industrialization. I'll give you an example. I was in Uganda, I think a year and a half ago, for a business platform on nuclear energy. And then, I was smiling when I heard the president saying that, no, I'm not going to export my uranium anymore because I want to build the biggest nuclear energy power plant in my country. It's a standpoint. But building nuclear energy, the conventional one, I don't think our infrastructure, our grid is ready to absorb that level of, importance in terms of, gigawatt that would be deployed. So SMR in that sense would be faster, quicker, to be integrated to the grid that we have, and then as we deploy and improve them, progressively. And that's why the SMR and the small modular reactor and the micro modular reactor will be a better fit for a country like Rwanda. Not only Rwanda, I think for Africa, I would say. If I follow what President Kagame would want to see for this country, he would want to see a power plant by 2030. And then we, moving, pulling our socks to try and see how feasible that would be. Saying it's not unrealistic, let's put it this way, but it will require a lot of, discipline, a lot of, human capital, being fully, embarked in the process, talking as one voice, and also getting the civil society and then the policymakers to accompany this process, which seems to be the case in Rwanda due to the discipline and the fact that, I personally have the perception that here, everyone moves in the same direction. I say a little bit more than 50%, I would say. I think we have to be optimistic about that. I've always argued that, we shouldn't mix politics with science. Science goes with policy. People might not agree, but if the science is accompanying the policy of the countries, I think we can go far. Why a country like Rwanda would not be choosing to go for nuclear energy if there's no other means to, satisfy the energy demand of its population, satisfy the development need, the industrialization needs, and also the innovation that Rwanda is taking full step on. Rwanda is known as a country for, technological innovation in terms of IT, digital world. I think Rwanda has been following this quite, steadily. So, and as you know, if I take an example, for instance, Rwanda's ambition is to have data centers to power the artificial intelligence framework that is nascent in this country. But where do you get the power for it? So if you want to wait for the conventional one, that will take a longer time for the regulation, the licensing, and the process. I think you'd rather go for the smaller micro reactors that are easily deployable because they build the broads and then assemble on site, and then that makes them easy to deploy, and then faster as well, and then more suitable for our grid and our infrastructure that we have at this point in time in the country. No, I would say what means slow in that sense. If you take, it's all relative. You see what I mean? If you start deploying some solar panel, and sometimes you say you'll finish them in 1 year, and then you never finish them in 1 year. You may end up going for 5 years. But what's 5 years in our life, or 5 years in the development of a country, or what we plan for the future generations? Nuclear energy is not, when you embark on nuclear energy, you don't think about yourself. You think about what comes next, what's the future for yourself, and then for your children and grandchildren, and how the country is evolving in that respect. You embark on a nuclear energy program for 50 and 100 years, Okay, you have to diversify even your sources for implementing nuclear energy. And then, there's no room to be skeptical about deployment of nuclear energy in the country. I mean, that's where the world is going, and that's what we have to embark on. Now, talking about those, I'm in a room where people say, why Rwanda will go for it? Why not? If you take how the world is evolving, or where the Western countries have come from, all of them have developed an industrialist through nuclear energy, and the conventional one. But today, innovation and technology have made nuclear energy to be safer, secure, and then to go in sync with the climate change issue, because nuclear energy is a clean energy. It's not a renewable energy, but it's a clean energy. And what we need is decarbonize the world as it stands today. And there's no other way than having an important chunk of nuclear energy in the energy mix of the country, of the continent, and of the world. Financing mechanisms are evolving. I mean, a few years ago, when we were asking some of our regional financial institutions to basically move along with us in this process of implementing or deploying a nuclear power plant, they were like, no, that's not part of our portfolio. But, I often say, when we say it, it's probably difficult to absorb. But recently, the World Bank has lifted the ban on financing nuclear energy. And all of a sudden, you will see African financial institutions moving in that direction. But why can't we believe in what our own citizen or expert are saying, and then to advance faster than what others will basically impose on the framework of deploying nuclear energy? I have a problem with that. But I think we have the human capital for it. We have financial experts, all over the continent, who certainly can bring innovation in financing mechanism for nuclear energy. And I will talk about one that seems to be quite innovative. It's tokenization. That's coming from, the United Arab Emirates have experienced it. Tokenization is like if Rwanda, were to say, we have a certified deposit of uranium. It's all mapped, and then we know exactly what it's about. I mean, the value of that deposit could be taken into account in tokenizing it, meaning giving a value of it and then using the money that comes out of it to finance infrastructure or even the nuclear energy implementation program. That's what the United Arab Emirates are doing, and then I think that's something that our countries can certainly look into. No, you're not selling the deposit. You basically, it's like it's like you want to give a certain guarantee for a house that you have to get money from the bank. I think it's that same concept, but a little bit more innovative than that, because you talk about things that you don't see. A deposit is not something that I would say it's physical, but it's not physical for you to see it, because you talk about things that are underground, but that are only certified due to the research and exploration that is done on it. But if you have a financial mechanism that could take that into account, why not? You can tokenize your deposit not only or necessarily for nuclear energy. If your priority is not on nuclear energy, it could be for infrastructure, roads, railway, and you name it. It's something that we should think. So it will take us away from the difficult context that some of our countries are facing when they're looking for financing their development or industrialization. One thing you have to probably take into account, the world is evolving so fast that some of the institutions to be relevant will have to follow. Okay? If they don't, if we have banks in the United Arab Emirates that are ready to tokenize, our regional bank will have to follow suit. If they don't, they'll become irrelevant. And one, I can do an analogy if you want. It's basically today post offices. You don't send letters anymore because the digital world has changed everything. So I see financing mechanism to go in that same direction. If you're not in sync with how the world is evolving, your financing mechanism might be irrelevant in the years to come. No, simply because I think small modular reactors and micro reactors are the fastest way of dealing with our energy insecurity, and then looking for an energy sovereignty that would basically deal with what we call today energy poverty. If you take renewable energy, electrification in the villages in many of the countries in Africa, what we do, we're giving them electricity for their basic needs. We don't give them, if you take a tailor in a village who has a sewing machine that he can't use because there was a power cut, you're basically killing his business during that day or those days where there will be power cut. But if you can inject an energy that is consistent, stable for years, why not going for that? And that's what nuclear energy is bringing on the platform. Challenges, I don't know if I would, but let me first back off a little bit and then talk about the experience of Ghana. The Ghana Atomic Energy Commission has been there for many years, late 50s, by Nkrumah. Somebody who had a vision as well for the continent with regard to, picking quite earlier that our problem will be energy security. Okay, so he established the Ghana Atomic Energy Commission at the time, not for Ghana because he wanted something that will help the continent, because he's been known to have been a Pan-Africanist. I think President Kagame is, I would say, in the same footstep, having a vision not for only Rwanda but for the continent. Ghana started this project long ago for the conventional or traditional nuclear power plant. But it's taken years because regulation and regulatory framework were too cumbersome for countries like us due to the lack of expertise, human capital that is not sufficient to basically accompany the process that is quite stringent, and also the regulation linked to the proliferation risk that people would say for countries in the continent. So that has potentially or probably made it too lengthy or too slow to see a country like Ghana, mastering the whole technological framework into having a nuclear power plant within the framework that we would assume, let's say 15, 20 years. And then, but this is over now. But at the same time, Ghana has managed to have a research reactor. Having a research reactor is also a big step towards all the nuclear energy platform and its implementation and deployment. Because what does a research reactor for Ghana? Agriculture, innovation, blending, medicine, many things and many research topics that are dealt with in Ghana and not available in countries that do not have a research reactor. So in that sense, there was a success in that process and having started earlier. And by the way, it's something as well that we do not exclude, to have a research reactor in our process to deploy the nuclear power plant in Rwanda. So if we can have in our vendors with whom we have an agreement or memorandum of understanding, if they're ready to deploy a research reactor faster than the power plant, why not as we move towards the power plant? So going back to your question about the challenge, I think the challenge, we're putting the challenge for ourselves. If it's, I used to have my PhD supervisor used to tell me that obstacles are made to be avoided. Okay? So if you see challenges, we have to make sure we avoid the challenge, but finding the appropriate solution to tackle them. And you are the country of 1,000 hills, so if you make it too smooth here, you wouldn't have the challenge you see, and then the Rwandan would not be seen as people who are going so fast. Maybe you're going fast because you have the challenge of climbing so many hills. Blueprint, I see the human capital development. I think Rwanda, and then that's something that I quote or I talk about often when I'm interviewed. Rwanda is probably the country where for the past 5 years we've steadily sent students to be trained and probably have today a critical mass of nuclear engineer or nuclear scientists. China, Korea, Russia. I think that has been, and some also are studying in other European countries. But today we have a critical mass of countries that are, of students or engineers that have been trained in a government framework steadily that probably no other country has done. In my country or many other countries, you do it because you hear about it, and then you do it because you like it, you do it because you are a scientist, and then you want to explore what nuclear energy could be about. But if there was an opportunity to follow a program, implementation of the government, to be trained consistently over the years, I think that will certainly help many African countries to be ready to absorb the technology and also attract investors and those who think, where do I go? And if you say, if next year we have 400 nuclear scientists in Rwanda, and a country wants to go faster in deploying a nuclear power plant or nuclear energy implementation, he would say Rwanda might be a fertile ground for it. If I paint the picture, I would say, if I didn't think of success, I wouldn't be here in Rwanda. I'm from Burkina Faso. I could do many other things. And what attracts me to this country is first the vision of His Excellency President Kagame. And in my first discussion with him was, why don't you come to Rwanda and then we'll make a difference together in that field. And think about somebody who brings Africans from other part of the continent and then say, come and then we work together. Of course I could have been somewhere else. But I'm here because there's a vision, there's a will, there's discipline, there is courage, and then there's a decision making in the process to deploy. So I want to be part of this success. And that makes the blueprint that I want to share with the rest of the continent, and then my children and grandchildren. We're working to making sure we have a bigger percentage of hope in meeting President Kagame's vision to having a nuclear power plant by 2030, 2031 or 2032. That's what we're trying to do. We have the human capital in development, and I think we have a good critical mass, and I think we have to get them to speak with one voice, work with with the same foot, and then move together in the same direction so that we can get the implementation within time and budget. But I think for the past 5 years we've been training, 60, 80, 100, so I don't know, maybe let's say 300, because they're scattered around. So you have people who are coming from a military background, some who are coming from, intelligence and different sectors of the administration, the Rwanda administration. And that also is something that I want to talk about. It's not just about students that are graduated and then we send them. It's about people who are working already in the administration that are seeing a potential in the nuclear science and technology that are embarking in it. And I think that's a good thing because they tie into the country, and then it's difficult for them to be trained and then run after money somewhere else in a different part of the world. In the layman's standpoint, we would have gone first to the political commitment that is there, okay? The public that is accompanying the project because they're understanding that nuclear energy is not the risk that they've heard of, and that nuclear energy is not nuclear weapon. That's a difference that one has to make. And then for them to know and to understand that there's no other way around. If Rwanda or Africa want to meet its energy demand and deal with energy insecurity and then deal with what we call energy poverty, there's no other way around. The fastest is today the most recent innovation in nuclear science and technology with the micro-reactors and the small modular reactors that will be, or that could be deployed faster, easily, in a country like Rwanda to be fit for purpose. And that's what I see in what we need in terms of nuclear energy implementation or deployment. Is it feasible? Yes, that's what I'm saying, because we have a critical mass of nuclear scientists that are accompanying the process. What we have to do is to find means and way to motivate them, for them to know I just didn't go for the training to come and then enjoy my time in the office, in the bureaucracy, but I'm here for a goal that we have by 2:30 or 2:32, and then we're all driving for the same goal and we're moving in the same direction. So I think that is easily done because there is a vision and a political will for that. If I was a Rwandan sitting and then watching, for instance, the discussion with you or the press briefing early on, I would say, but what is this guy from Burkina Faso doing here? That's the first thing that will come to my mind. And then the answer would be, to what he's doing here, who brought him? The person who brought him has a vision, not for Rwanda, but for the continent. And if we bring in people from across the continent and across the world to accompany a process that we have, it means we want to have a success. So are we doing our part? I hope I am, and I hope I'm contributing. But if at all I'm not, and I'm not seen to be contributing, I think I should be told and then I should go somewhere else. But I pray God that what I'm doing does bring some kind of contribution to the process. And I'm hoping to spare no effort in making sure that we have that blueprint that we talk about in Rwanda for the continent. And that's why I'm here. So if I step a little bit back and then say the technology, why nuclear? And then many would ask you, nuclear because 30 years ago or 40 maybe, everyone wanted to do IT. Okay? Today, everyone wants to do information security or artificial intelligence. But the world has evolved in a way where you won't be able to do artificial intelligence or information security or computational study or work or research without the power that all those infrastructure demand. Okay? And how do we face that? It's easy to say I want to go for artificial intelligence. But to go there, you need energy. For agriculture, you need energy. Food, you need energy. And where do you get the energy? Not with the renewable that we have, because they're not sufficient. They're so discontinued in terms of, their runoff, that you need something that is stable and that will keep, stability to a level or to a framework where people see their use and their good use. And, I take whoever uses electricity, we need stability. And that's why we need nuclear energy, because it's stable, it's clean, and the SMR and micro reactors are faster to implement, easy. They could be costly, but it's the same with a phone. Your mobile phone were probably too expensive when they came out. But as you deploy them and as you get them and as you get them in numbers, they become cheaper. And that's why today we have millions of farmers and whatever who have mobile phone, and then they can use it. Mobile money, Momo. Many years ago you didn't have Momo, but everyone used Momo. So I want to see nuclear energy the same way, that people embrace it and understand it in an easy way, the same way IT and the digital worlds has invaded our countries and our continent. That's how I want to see nuclear energy, doing in Africa.